And here's an update on the Karmelo Anthony case and the outstanding video evidence. Austin Metcalf, the victim in this case, asked Karmelo to leave the area. And that evolves into a confrontation where Austin apparently pushes Karmelo in an attempt to get Karmelo to move along. At this point, Karmelo retrieves a knife and stabs Austin.
You wake up to headlines that stop you cold. Karmelo Anthony's parents are under federal investigation. But it's not just about the stabbing anymore. It's about money. Big money. Specifically, a sudden $30 million home sale that's now under serious scrutiny. You scroll further and realize something's off. The timeline doesn't make sense. The house, once listed quietly, barely touched the market, was sold in record time. No fanfare, no bidding war, just gone. Like they were trying to move fast before someone asked the wrong questions. And now, federal agencies are asking all of them. The home wasn't just a house. It was a sprawling estate, packed with custom renovations, a private security system, and alleged hidden rooms, according to online rumors. But what really sent up the red flags wasn't the price tag. It was who bought it. Early reports claim the buyer may be connected to an LLC that's been flagged in past laundering cases. That's when things escalated. Prosecutors allegedly started tracking digital paper trails, banking activity, and offshore transfers. Suddenly, this wasn't just a story about a family trying to protect their son. It was turning into something bigger, something dirtier. And as federal agents close in, speculation spreads like wildfire. Were they hiding money, moving assets before a possible conviction? Or worse, was the home tied to the original crime in ways no one saw coming? You start to wonder if a simple real estate deal could unravel their entire legal strategy. What else are they hiding? And here's the real question. If you were under investigation for murder, would you risk selling a $30 million home? Or is that exactly the kind of move someone makes when they know what's coming? You start digging deeper, and it doesn't take long before one strange detail leads to another. The deed transfer wasn't handled through a mainstream real estate firm. It was routed through a private broker, someone who's been linked in the past to off-market celebrity sales designed to bypass public records. That's when whispers of a quiet laundering route start gaining traction online. Blogs, Twitter threads, even a few independent journalists are picking up on the trail. Suddenly, this isn't just about the stabbing anymore. It's about how deep this family's network really runs. You find out the sale closed 48 hours after Karmelo's parents were hit with official murder indictments. 2 days. That's unheard of in luxury real estate. No inspections, no financing delays, no appraisals, just a wire transfer and silence. But what really turns heads is where the money went. According to anonymous sources close to the investigation, portions of the $30 million were instantly moved into 3 separate holding accounts, 2 domestic, 1 reportedly offshore, all under shell companies. And when a local reporter tried reaching out to the original title company, they were told to speak with a legal representative instead. That's when the feds stepped in. Not because of the stabbing, that case was already in motion, but because of the suspicious movement of money, the kind of activity that screams cover-up. Now, investigators are questioning whether this was a premeditated play to hide assets in the event of a conviction, or worse, whether the home itself held physical evidence. Surveillance footage, hidden electronics, a burned shirt that never made it into the court filings. It's no longer just a family fighting for their son's freedom. It's starting to look like they're fighting to bury something else. Would you sell your mansion in 2 days? If the walls were clean? You don't need to be a federal agent to feel like something's off. The more you look, the more it starts to feel like a pattern. Not just one family panicking over legal pressure, but a coordinated response. You come across a forum thread where someone posts a screenshot of the escrow agent's LinkedIn profile. It's been wiped. No trace of the deal, no mention of the client. Even his previous job history looks edited. You wonder, who's pulling strings behind the scenes? Then another detail drops. The buyer? He's not just some faceless investor. His name was buried under a trust, but a leaked DMV record shows he registered 2 high-end sports cars in Florida, just days before the mansion sale was finalized. Why is that strange? Because it's the same state where Karmelo's parents allegedly sent a private moving truck, full of legal archives and family heirlooms. The truck never returned. Neither did the driver. You pause and try to make sense of it. A murder case. A $30 million fire sale, a buyer with no visible footprint, money rerouted, names deleted, timelines off. And now federal agents are said to be reconstructing the movement of every dollar that touched the sale. What they're reportedly trying to determine is intent. Was this a legitimate transaction? Or was it a strategic play to place assets out of reach of civil lawsuits or restitution? If that's proven true, it's not just shady, it's a crime. The headlines have moved on, but you haven't. Because now this doesn't feel like just a legal mistake. It feels like strategy, cold, calculated, and pre-planned. So ask yourself, if the sale had nothing to hide, why does every trace of it keep disappearing? You hear murmurs that someone from inside the escrow process has started cooperating. Not publicly, but quietly. A junior assistant maybe, a runner, someone low enough to be ignored, but close enough to know everything. And apparently, they've already told investigators there were verbal-only instructions passed down to expedite the transaction. No emails, no texts, just in-person handoffs. It was all designed to leave nothing in writing. That alone could be coincidence. But then you remember, this wasn't just any house. This was the main property tied to the family's wealth. It's where high-profile meetings were held, where press statements were rehearsed, where Karmelo reportedly stayed after initial questioning, and now it's gone, erased from public access, digitally delisted, and scrubbed from real estate databases. You wonder, why the urgency? And then it hits you. A recent leak from a legal aid suggests that prosecutors had been preparing to freeze family assets, starting with the mansion. But the sale happened days before the court motion could be filed. Days, meaning whoever orchestrated the transaction wasn't just selling fast, they were staying one step ahead. This wasn't panic, it was preemptive. What makes it worse is the timeline surrounding the murder indictment. On paper, the charges were filed the same week the house changed hands. But documents now suggest the family had been meeting with asset managers weeks before the public knew an indictment was even coming. That's no accident, that's intent. So now the question changes. It's no longer, did they sell the house to escape scrutiny? It's, did they know what was coming before anyone else did? And more importantly, who inside the system gave them the warning? You start paying attention to the language federal agents are using in off-the-record interviews. Words like asset protection, fraudulent conveyance, and obstruction. These aren't terms tossed around lightly. They hint at something more than just panic selling. They suggest intent to deceive, and that changes everything. Then you learn about a subpoena sent to the title insurance company that handled the deal. According to legal analysts, that kind of subpoena isn't issued unless prosecutors believe the sale itself could be used as evidence in a larger case. Not just to show financial movement, but to prove strategy. To prove that someone tried to interfere with justice. That's when another bizarre detail emerges. Someone, possibly one of Karmelo's relatives, had the home professionally cleaned just hours after the moving trucks left. Not a routine maid service, we're talking industrial-grade sanitization. Floor to ceiling, walls, air ducts, even the fireplace. Why would you do that? Unless you needed to make sure nothing was left behind. Theories online spiral into chaos. Some believe the house held personal journals, voice recordings, even physical evidence tied to the night of the stabbing. Others think it was a safe house, used to hide key players during the initial media storm. But the one thing everyone agrees on? That $30 million sale wasn't just about liquidating real estate. It was a calculated maneuver. And now, the feds want to know who signed off on it, what they were trying to protect, and whether the sale itself violated any laws tied to ongoing criminal proceedings. So now you're left with one question that won't leave your mind. If the home was innocent, why treat it like a crime scene? That system? It was ripped out just days before escrow closed. You sit with that. A home under scrutiny. A surveillance system yanked. A secret room vanished. Then sold for $30 million in under 48 hours. This isn't just a real estate deal anymore. It's a crime scene that got paved over. And the feds know it. Which brings you to the only question that matters now. What was in that house that scared them so much they couldn't risk letting anyone else find it? You check the date on the final wire transfer. It hits just hours before a judge officially signed the asset freeze order. Not days, not even a full 24 hours. Hours. Which means someone tipped them off, or they gambled and got out just in time. But here's the kicker. The buyer has now gone silent. No public records since. No social media. The trust name tied to the purchase? Dissolved. It's as if the $30 million vanished into thin air, along with the estate, the surveillance system, and any trace of what happened inside those walls. It's not just a suspicious sale, it's a ghost transaction. And now federal prosecutors are treating the home as part of the broader case, not a side detail. Because what was once considered a desperate move by grieving parents now looks like the center of an entire operation. Asset shielding, evidence scrubbing, possibly even witness coordination. One attorney, speaking off the record, said this may be the first time in years that a luxury home sale is being treated as obstruction of justice. Steps taken before and after. The messages deleted, the money moved, the stories cleaned, polished, and staged, just like that house. Supporters are stunned, opponents feel vindicated, and through it all, one question still cuts through the noise. If the house really was just a home, why did they act like it was evidence? Because when families fight for the truth, they cling to what matters. But when families fight to survive a lie, they sell it off before anyone gets the chance to look inside.